Hello, I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com. I'm here at the Brighton Comic Con, and I'm here to interview one of the most renowned wrestling journalists in the world, Bill Apter. So, Bill, thank you so much for talking to us.
I am thrilled to be here, Adam.
Thank you very much. Now, first of all, before we start, you say you can rap Barry Manilow.
Oh, I can rap any Tom Jones, Barry Manilow. See, my best friend and I entertain at senior homes back in the United States, and a lot of the nurses, when you do a nice, beautiful, like old Andy Williams ballad like Moon River, the nurses fall asleep. So I take a baseball cap, put it to the side, and I do, yo, Moon River, wider than a mile, I'm crossing you in style someday. And that, I get requests for Barry Manilow sometimes, and I'll do the song, and then I'll do, her name was Lola, she was a showgirl with yellow feathers in her hair, and a dress cut down to there at the Copa, do the whole...
It's a Doctor of Thugonomics gimmick. It's solid. It gets people over.
I was doing that long before John Cena.
Oh, so gimmick infringement is what you're saying.
Total, but because he does so much charitable work, I refuse to take him to court.
That's fair. That's only fair. So, Bill, you've had a long career that you've seen the rise and fall of many wrestling booms. Yeah. What kind of state is the wrestling industry in at the moment? Are we due another boom, or are we just left one? What do you think what's the state of the industry at the moment?
It has boomed, and it is starting to slowly boom back.
Okay.
The infiltration of NXT right now, and the Divas division has added a new excitement to the already solid WWE product. And the WWE was always, Vince McMahon always said, we're not wrestling, we're a variety show. So the variety that NXT has brought to the table, and the Divas division especially, is now expanding on that variety. It's giving the wrestling fan or the sports entertainment fan a little bit more variety of, well, I like indie wrestling. Well, you look at NXT, that's more that indie style. Well, I like to watch the girls. Well, we've got that too. So it's a little bit of everything right now. So I think we're not stuck. It's always in a state of evolution.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's going to be a boom period of where some of the more established talents now are going to start fading back a little bit, and we're going to see more of the younger talent coming up.
With regards to some of the older talent fading away, I mean, obviously, big rumors that the Undertaker might be retiring this year. I mean, it would make sense in Texas, WrestleMania. Who else do you see who else is it their time to pass the torch on?
As you know, the Undertaker has been kidnapped by the Wyatt family.
Of course, yeah.
So I don't think we're going to see a retirement. I would have liked him to have, even though he lost it to Brock Lesnar, I would have liked to have seen him leave the ring and undecided future rather than being beaten down, the legend being beaten down by the Wyatt family. Will he come back and wrestle again? I'm not really sure. There will be an involvement there, but I wanted him to just walk away with his head held high. He lost that match, and that's it. Other people fading away at this point, I really don't see anyone fading into the sunset.
Is that because, in your opinion, the main event field in WWE is quite thin right now, especially now we've had a couple of injuries, a lot of people are hurt. Do you feel that sort of thinness at the top of the roster is one of the reasons that WWE is a little hurting right now?
I don't know if they're hurting because, some people say that, well, they had 37 million in ratings last week. Now it's down to 35 or 32. I think at that level, they may be losing some money, maybe, but they're still the company. They're people get on the internet. Oh my God, they're going out of business. That's never going. It's not going to happen.
They're adding Smackdown to the same channel as Raw. Obviously, they mean a huge amount of money to the station that they're on. It's just that compared to booms of the past, they're not doing quite as well. Why do you think that is?
I think the audience turns over periodically. I think that some of the storylines right now are kind of repetitious at times, and the fans are seeing a lot of the same talent, but little by little that's evolving. They know whatever issues the fans are seeing and the fans don't think that they know about, that the wrestling people don't know about, they do know about it. Yeah. And they'll fine-tune and fix whatever issues they think need fixing. Sometimes what we think as fans, and I'm still a fan, sometimes what we think as fans need fixing, they already are working on, or they don't think it's a problem because they have another step to go through with that storyline or with that angle.
Obviously, every fan with a keyboard thinks that they can book better than WWE, and myself very much included in that. But do you? But it's like, do you think like WWE have been accused a lot of like not thinking long term? Are they smarter than everyone gives them credit for?
I don't work for the WWE, and everyone out there who thinks that WWE isn't doing this, and this, unless they work in that office. Yeah. For example, there are websites, unlike OneWrestling.com, who will say, we heard from so-and-so at the gorilla position that no one unauthorized can get into that gorilla position. I can't get in the gorilla position. So unless you're the agent working in that gorilla position, what you're reading is totally false.
You were a photojournalist, getting into it. Of course, you are hugely steeped in making Pro Wrestling Illustrated, what it is, and all the other Apter mags.
Now, do you know where that came from?
What's the term?
Apter mags.
Because of all the magazines you were involved in?
No, that title came from, I was a part of 5 or 6 really great teams. Stu Sachs, Craig Peters, Brandy Mankiewicz, Joe Bua. There's so many people, Dan Shockett, Eddie Elner, and Dave Meltzer, who does the Wrestling Observer, used to call him the Apter mags. And I called him one day and I said, that bothers me because there's other people that do this. He says, well, you're the face of the magazines. You're the one out there. You're the one out in the field there, and you're the one that presents the awards and does interviews. You're the person they see, and this is why he called them the Apter mags.
And these Apter mags, I'm going to keep calling them that. They one of the things that kind of mark them out as being particularly enjoyable is they maintain kayfabe for the most part.
Yeah, the word kayfabe is so thrown around because back when I started, kayfabe meant, you're breaking. You shouldn't talk business in front of this guy, something like that. So, people say, well, we loved your kayfabe stories. That doesn't mean anything. What we did is we covered pro wrestling like Sports Illustrated would cover baseball or football or whatever. We did the angles and we covered it as a sport.
Do you think that Vince let the cat out of the bag too early, or was it just naturally going to happen? He stayed ahead of the curve?
I don't think it naturally was going to happen at all. I think when he expanded to go and move into the direction of being a global phenom, which the company has become, he had to do that. They were also paying a lot of money to state athletic commissions that were saying, well, you're a sport, you're not anything else. And, I wish it never came out. I still protect it at times.
I just want to get your opinion on a couple of things, a couple of the big angles. Undertaker's streak, should they have broken it?
That's very difficult because eventually it would have had to happen. That streak end never would have happened if The Undertaker said no. Plain and simple. So he was okay to go with it with Brock Lesnar. And look what it did for Brock Lesnar. Lesnar already was a superstar, but this raised his value so much more.
One of the biggest angles of all time, which had the potential to be the biggest angle of all time, was the invasion angle way back in 2001. What are your thoughts on that?
We're talking about the WCW invasion. I would have loved to have seen that work, but I think, and I don't know this for a fact, that those people came from another company that was no longer there, and WWE wanted to show that they are the premier company, and those guys could kick the butt of WCW whenever they wanted to. Yeah. What's refreshing, though, is the one guy who never gave in, Sting, now came here, and all the WWE fans have seen him.
Do you think that's one of the reasons why Sting lost his match at WrestleMania, that they're still in Vince's mind that kind of, we want to prove that we won the Monday Night Wars and we were always going to win the Monday Night Wars?
I don't think that had anything to do with it. I really don't. I just think it was a decision they made that, you know, he's an older talent now, and this just had to happen.
Did you start with taking photos around the ring with, like, that was like the Paul Heyman time, wasn't it?
No, way before that.
Way before.
I started in the mid-'60s. I bought time on a radio station in New York, and I was interviewing celebrities, and I was a huge wrestling fan. I got some tickets to a small spot show, which was, it was Vince McMahon Sr.'s show. It wasn't WWEF at that point yet. And I did some interviews with some of the wrestlers, and I took some photos with a little junky Instamatic film camera. If you don't know what film is, look it up. Nothing to do with digital. And several years later, I sent some pictures and transcripts of some of the interviews to one of the wrestling magazines, and that put the key in the ignition, started me off.
Please tell us about your book that you're selling here today.
Let me ask you a question. Is wrestling fixed?
I didn't know it was broken.
Another one. Unbelievable. For many years, I was working for a company here in the United Kingdom called Highbury House, and they produced Total Wrestling magazine. And there was along with Stephen Ganfield, who was the other editor, we put out a magazine that is equal to the WOW magazine that I had come from, but the company decided after a little while, it changed ownership, that they didn't want to do any more wrestling magazines. So without a wrestling vehicle, I was like, it's the first time ever in my life. So ECW Press from Canada called me and said, maybe this will make you feel better. We'd like to work a book deal out. I said, I'd never done a book. I'd written columns. More importantly than anything I did with photos or stories or columns was that the boys in the industry accepted me as one of their own. So I became the liaison from the magazines to the industry. So where we go. So the book. So 2004, I said, I don't know, and I called a friend of mine named Howard Brody, who had written a book called Swimming with Piranhas, and I asked him, would you write this book for me? And he said, no. I said, why? He says, they won't hear your voice. Okay, which is the same thing my mentor, Stanley Weston, told me in 1970 when I first started. So I said, yeah, maybe I'll do it. I got a contract in 2012. In late 2013, Greg Oliver, who has helped push me into this, an editor, said, if you don't have it done by early 2015, the deal is off. Oh, wow. My wife said, are you going to do this? I said, I don't know. So I sat down with my dog, Lexi Rose, on the right of the recliner, the computer on the left of the recliner, and every few nights I just sat and wrote. And this is the result of it.
Is the book just about your career or your retrospective on kind of the eras of wrestling? What's it?
It's both. It's mainly my career in the business and my interaction with the wrestlers, and not just wrestling. There's a lot of boxing. I was the head photographer for our boxing magazines. I traveled for many years with the great Muhammad Ali.
The greatest of all time.
I'm so pretty. I like your speed. I like your style. But your pay's so cheap, I won't be back for a while. You got great speed. You got endurance. If you sign to fight me, increase your insurance. Anyway, and also with people like Dick Van Dyke, Billy Ray Cyrus. That's Miley's father, just in case you people don't know. So it's a little about my whole life, mainly in pro wrestling, but it goes through my breaking in during the pure wrestling era, to the Hulkamania era, to the Attitude Era, son.
Oh yeah.
What? That's where what came from, and today's reality era.
Yeah.
So, and I'm still here, and I never want to slow down, and I'm thrilled to be here in England.
Well, we've been absolutely thrilled to talk to you.
Well, thank you.
Bill Apter, thank you so much for talking to us.
My pleasure, and you have to point out at the camera right now, and we'll see you at the matches.